Think of a time when you were in the most pain you can remember being in. Maybe you got a really bad splinter or a cut or a burn. Now imagine you knew that tomorrow you were going to be facing pain that was going to be 50 to 100 times as bad as that. Imagine you also knew that you were about to be abandoned by most of your friends and feel alone while many people were making fun of you, saying mean things to you. Imagine that you were about to be humiliated by evil people. Imagine that you knew you were about to die for these people who are hurting you and saying these horrible things to you. This is what Jesus knew was coming for him the next day. So in Mark chapter 14, we see he takes his disciples to a garden in order to pray. And he prayed for about 3 hours because this was going to be a very hard thing to face. Let's go ahead and read Mark 14, verses 32 through 42. And they went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." And he took with him Peter and James and John, and began to be greatly distressed and troubled. And he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch." And going a little farther, he fell on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. He said, "Abba, Father, all these things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me. Yet not what I will, but what you will." And he came and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Could you not watch 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." And again he went away and prayed, saying the same words. And again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to answer him. And he came a third time and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? It is enough, the hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." Jesus was feeling overwhelmed, so he took time to pray. Have you ever felt overwhelmed, like too much was going on, or too many bad things were happening to you, or just like you need a lot of help to get through? Whenever we feel overwhelmed, it is a good time to pray to God, our Heavenly Father. Maybe in your schoolwork you're beginning to feel overwhelmed. Take time to pray. Maybe at your job you are feeling overwhelmed. Take time to pray. Maybe with people being mean to you, you're feeling overwhelmed. Take time to pray. Maybe with being sick or in pain, you feel overwhelmed. Take time to pray. Maybe you are feeling overwhelmed with loneliness. Take time to pray. Maybe you feel overwhelmed with temptation to do the wrong things. Take time to pray. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed by your family. Take time to pray. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed with feelings of grief or hurt or sadness. Take time to pray. Praying is not just for when we feel overwhelmed, but it is especially needed in those times so that we can make it through what we are going through. Jesus prayed often. In Mark 1:35, we are told that Jesus went off by himself early in the morning while it was still dark to pray to his heavenly Father. Luke 5:16 tells us that Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. It is important for us to often find time to be alone with God and pray to him. One good way to do this is to have a time each day that you try to set aside to pray. Maybe it's in the morning when you first get up, or at night right before bed, or during your lunch break. This is not just praying to thank God for your meal, but sharing with God what is happening in your day and what you or others need help with, as well as remembering to thank God for all of your many blessings. God is always ready to listen to what you have to say, and He's always ready to help you, although He may not always help the way that you want or expect Him to help. Sometimes we want God to take away our problems. Sometimes His answer is to help us get through our problems without going crazy. Paul tells us to pray without ceasing, which just means to always be ready to pray about the things going on in your life. You can stop anytime and talk to God. Jesus knew everything was possible with his Father. Our God is omnipotent. That's just a fancy way of saying he is all powerful. The Bible tells us that God can do far more than all we ask or imagine. We can probably imagine God doing lots of amazing things, but he can do even more than we're able to imagine him doing. Because God is so powerful, we ought to come to God in prayer whenever we are facing a problem, whether it's a small problem or a big problem. Nothing is too small or too big for our God. Trust that God can help you through all things and pray to Him about them, and God will be with you and help you. Not always in the way that you want or expect, but He will always help you if you are open to His ways of helping. Sometimes He fixes the problem, and sometimes He strengthens us to make it through. Jesus asked for this cup to pass from Him. What He was asking God here was to make it so that He did not have to go to the cross and die this painful and humiliating death. There was a part of Jesus that didn't want to go do this because of how horrible it was going to be. Yet He prayed, "Yet not what I will, but what you will." Even though He wanted badly not to have to go through with this, He prayed that God's will be done. Even though God did not let the cup pass, that is, He did not keep Jesus from going to the cross to die, He did send Him help to get through it. Luke's account says an angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. God does not simply say no to our heartfelt prayers for help. Even when He does not answer them like we want, He helps us by giving us strength. We need to learn in our prayers to pray like Jesus. We should pray, "Not my will, but yours be done." Because sometimes God has a reason for us to go through bad things, and we may not understand it, but God will always help us through it. We need to realize in our prayers that God's will may be different than ours, and let God know that we're okay with it if He has a different plan. I encourage you to spend time in prayer regularly to your Heavenly Father, especially when facing troubles in life, but not only then, but all throughout your life. And trust in God to help you, and be content with whatever way God chooses to help, knowing that God knows what is ultimately the best. I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and check out some of these other videos. God be with you, and have a great week.